Welcome back to our channel and Happy New Year. Today we're going to talk about why as Chinese living in Germany we want to make English podcasts in 2025. First, let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Yating. I'm a PhD candidate at Free University of Berlin studying China's economic reform since the end of 1970s. Currently, I'm at the end stage of writing my dissertation.
What's your dissertation title?
It's West Germany and China's economic reform from the 1970s to 1990s.
Interesting. I think it's related to economic history.
Yeah, and what about yourself? Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Chaoting Chen. I'm also a PhD student, but I'm not a classical student. Actually, I have worked as a manager in various countries, including China, India, Nigeria in West Africa, and Germany for a telecommunications giant. But from 2016 on, I devoted myself entirely to my research interests, grand strategy, international relations, and geopolitics, with a focus on China. I'm currently researching China's Belt and Road Initiative at the Free University of Berlin, same as you. In addition to that, I also write political commentaries regularly for Berliner Zeitung, a German newspaper, and the Chinese edition of Financial Times, a British newspaper. That's my personal situation.
Wow, that's a really fascinating experience.
Thank you.
I think you can talk more about your stories in our future podcast, but now we want to move on discussing our motivation to make this podcast.
So what's your motivation to make this English speaking podcast?
For me, it's not a very complicated motivations. I was just recently inspired by some other scholars who post their videos about public stories on social media. Then I'm thinking, okay, it sounds like a very good idea to share our research. It's actually also a new way to share our insights to a more broader audience.
It sounds that you want to be an academic influencer.
Yes, you can understand it like that, but I know it's going to be very hard, but of course I hope more people can know my research. And what about your motivation?
You were inspired by other scholars. My situation is a little bit different. I was stimulated by one median event. In early December last year, 2024, I received an invitation to Austria to participate in the so-called European Median Summit. I have spoken on the topic Europe between blocks. The organizer believed that the situation was facing a strategic competition between the United States and China, and that's why they invited me to talk about Chinese perspective in the so-called bloc confrontation. This was actually an excellent opportunity for me to explain Chinese perspective to the Western audience. But unfortunately, due to my limited English language skills, I was unable to accurately answer the host's question. I failed to explain my views. This has wasted this valuable opportunity, has deeply stimulated me. That's why I decided to take some action to change my situation. That's why I decided to create this English podcast, of course, together with you.
Well, that sounds such a pity, but we can always get better by practicing. So English is very important. I also want to practice my English according to making podcast.
I think both of us have very strong motivation to produce this English podcast. But only motivations are not sufficient. I think we must have some purpose to achieve. I would like to ask you, what are your purpose in producing such English-speaking podcast?
And to be short, my purpose can conclude as two keywords. First is a non-academic career. Second is a new way of knowledge spreading.
Your first purpose is a non-academic career. Can you please explain it more detailedly?
Sure. Nowadays, we know that it's very hard for young scholars or early career researchers like us to find a permanent position in academia. the university doesn't have enough funding, which means that not enough positions for the newcomers. It makes me to think that we should start to find a new way to continue our research, but without working in academia. So that is my first motivation.
I totally agree. I think the situation for the humanities and the social science is not optimistic. Both of us have participated in the demonstration organized by Berlin universities and research institutions. They protested against the decision of Berlin city government because the government wants to cut spending on research and higher education. So I think the situation is bad for all of us, especially the young scholars, early career scholars will be heavily impacted.
Yeah, so I kind of feel anxious about my future. And then my second purpose is kind of related to the current situation because, like we don't have enough money, we don't have enough funding. And so that means that we won't have enough fundings to support our academic publications. But we all know that publications is very important for us to find a position in academia. The more publications, the safer you are. Unfortunately, it's very expensive. We have to pay a lot of money to the publishers, particularly when we want to publish a whole book. It can cost like over 10,000 pounds or euros. That's a lot of money. And so that's why I'm thinking maybe currently we can use the new way, like the power of media to break the monopoly of the traditional academic publications.
I agree. The people say publish or perish, right? So, but today publishing is increasingly becoming difficult, especially for the young scholars. I think the technologies have radically changed today's situation. Not only research paper, but we can find other alternative ways of producing and disseminating knowledges, like podcast, like video. Yeah, we can try. Why not?
Yeah, as a researcher in humanities and social sciences, so I think it's making podcasts or videos could be a very good way for us to spread our knowledge. And we can also engage more conversations with a broader audience. What about your purpose?
I have three purposes. The first is to promote intercultural exchange, and the second is to approach more people, and the third, of course, my self-improvement.
So what do you mean, like intercultural exchange?
Intercultural exchange is important because today we are living in one global village, right? Yeah, some people say globalization is dead. I don't think so. I think it's still important to make an intercultural exchange. We are Chinese. We come from China. Now China has become the second largest economy of the world, only second to the United States. And China is the largest trading partner of Germany. Therefore, China is absolutely an important country. But understanding the Chinese perspective is lacking. So I believe it's urgently needed for the entire world. I want to promote the mutual understanding between Chinese and non-Chinese people. I think both Chinese and non-Chinese are full of misunderstanding toward each other. Sometimes the people even demonize each other. I want to do something to change the situation. To address this issue, I want to launch this podcast together with you, of course. I think we will not only provide relevant knowledge, but also seek to understand each other's perspective and promote empathy between Chinese and non-Chinese people. So this is my first purpose of promoting intercultural exchange.
That sounds a very good initiative. But I know it's gonna be hard, but we're gonna make more podcasts related to this topic in the future. And you mentioned that you want to approach more people. Would you like to make an explanation?
I used to organize many diverse events, but the main audience are Chinese. Now I want to make some change. Actually, I have a diverse range of interests, and every day I have new ideas. I want to spread my idea and get some feedback. So I think maybe I should speak in English, because English is a world language, a universal language. We live in Germany, and we know German people. I think most Germans speak perfect English, and the number of English-speaking Chinese people, particularly younger generation, is also increasing. So I think English is a suitable language for us to approach more people. This is the second purpose. I want to create an English-speaking podcast together with you.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. English is a world language, and then with an English podcast, I hope we can build a bridge between specialists and the non-specialists, and then engaging in more discussion with people all the world. So if you have interest, please join us. But English is not our mother tongue, so I know that it's going to be hard for us to make the podcast in English. It's going to be a huge challenge, but we still want to try.
This is a huge challenge for both of us. We are non-native English speakers, but I think through this English-speaking podcast, it can force us to practice our English on a regular basis. This is maybe the last purpose of mine.
Actually, we have kind of similar motivations and then purpose. So then now we name our English podcast as Hybrid Talk. I mean, I really like this name because it has like different type of meanings. First, it means that we will organize both online and offline events. So, you know, then we call it like a hybrid event. So even though you don't live in Berlin, you can still join us online and then talk with us. Then second means that hybrid means that we have a really diverse topic. We don't only focus on China topic. We talk about international relation, we talk about history, we talk about the social problems in Germany and other countries.
Our English-speaking podcast is named Hybrid Talk. For me, hybrid means both online and in person, both Chinese and non-Chinese audience, both political topics and non-political topics, diverse topics, and both theoretical and empirical topics. Yeah, it's diversity and hybrid.
I mean, in this podcast, it's not only like a podcast that we only talk with each other. We will make more interaction with the audience. We are trying to make a very relaxing and comfortable vibe for everyone to join the discussion.
Yeah, if you are interested in our podcast, if you want to support us, please do join us. Well, we have explained our motivations and purpose and characteristics of our future English-speaking podcast. But in order to achieve our purpose, we must have some plan. What's your idea about our plan?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Currently, both of us are at the end stage of writing our dissertations, so we don't really have enough time to make a lot of videos. Even though I would like to do so, but I really don't have a lot of time. We have to write, we have to prepare for the defense. But I still think maybe we can make every first Sunday of every month as our podcast day.
Let's try our best. Okay, so this is a new idea. It needs enthusiasm and energy. We will try our best.
As it's an hybrid event, so before we decide our topic, we will post the plan online. And then, so if you happen to see the plan and then you have interest, please register the event and then join the discussion.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.